Today we're going to talk about your knee and why your knee may not be fragile, why it simply may be overloaded. Generally, when people have knee pain, they often consider their knees as being weak. They consider it that their knees are not strong enough, and maybe this is not the case, and that's what we're going to challenge today a little bit. Okay, so generally, what is accepted, we're thinking, okay, like if the knees are hurting, we need to strengthen the glutes, and we need to strengthen the quads, we need to perform corrective exercises. Is that always the case, or is maybe more to this? And pain is way more complex than the traditional pain equals weakness narrative. Like, you're not necessarily weak, but just because you diligently do your strengthening exercises, you can still continue to experience pain. And why is that? Well, because weakness is not always the primary driver. But sometimes it's a little bit different. It could simply be a load tolerance issue, a tissue sensitive issue, and the difference between what you have as capacity versus what you're having as demand. How demanding are you on that knee? The missing variable here is really the load tolerance. Because the reality is, what load tolerance is basically amount of mechanical stress for your knee that the joint can currently handle. Okay, so knee pain often emerges when that chronic stress exceeds tissue capacity chronically. Terrible English, I'm so sorry for this, but basically is if your joint loading chronically is higher than what your tissue's capacity is, bam, you've got knee pain, or any other joint for that matter. And if the loading or your loading is insufficient to maintain tissue health, that is also important. So if you've been bedridden for 4 weeks or 2 weeks, and you're going out and you're thinking you can load that knee up just the way you had before, you are most likely wrong. So it is important to understand that both overloading and underloading can be problematic. Cartilage, tendons, and connective tissue require moderate cyclic loading to maintain homeostasis. So what that means is to stay actually in the shape that it's currently in. So there is a physiological Goldilocks zone, like the ideal zone of loading, not too much, not too little. If you are going on either end of the spectrum, you are going to end up potentially with pain. It is important though to understand that this zone is dynamic. It is not something that stays the same. It shifts as you're loading it. It can slowly progress. Your zone goes up. Yeah, so you're able to tolerate more of a load. Obesity here complicates the picture further by obviously increasing muscle forces, by increased ligament stress, and cartilage contact stress. So that is also something that we need to understand, that being obese is definitely a problem in the same context as well, and you're more likely to experience those issues if you are obese. So let's talk about tissue sensitivity and nervous system involvement. So pain is not just purely a structural phenomenon, okay? So the nervous system, more and more, we understand that the nervous system plays more and more a role here. So if you have repeated pain receptor input, it can amplify the processing within the nervous system. This means that down the road, what you once tolerated may become painful even without progressive tissue damage. So you become more sensitive to this. You're more likely to experience pain. And research indicates that about 20 to 30% of individuals who have knee osteoarthritis exhibit features of pain sensitization. So they are more sensitive than they theoretically should be. And in that state, smaller load spikes can trigger pain. Movement patterns may change, and they more and more avoid said activity like walking, running, whatever it is. Ironically speaking, is that excessive protection can further reduce then the capacity, what we talked about earlier, and reinforcing that pain cycle. So that is all something that we need to really understand. Capacity versus demand. We need to understand that even strong individuals develop knee pain. If we have an elite athlete, they can develop knee pain. Pain does not automatically equal weakness or failure. I think that is clear at this point. It often reflects a temporary imbalance between what the capacity of your knee is versus what the demand is. While the strength training obviously here remains important, but it's not a magical fix. When applied correctly, the strength training is a powerful tool to build capacity. It is a load buffer and a resilient enhancer, but it is not a universal explanation. And I think that is crucial to understand. If load tolerance and tissue sensitivity are primary drivers, then isolated exercises like clamshells, band work rarely solve the problem in isolation. Strength must basically exist inside of the broader framework of load management in your training, whatever you're doing, if you're running, playing volleyball, whatever it is, progressive adaptation to progressively adapt the tissue, the movement variability, and then the nervous system considerations, right? Like where in the cycle is that person that we're dealing with right now. So a good example is runner A versus runner B here. So a runner A drastically increases the training volume with minimal preparation. Yeah, been there, done that. So that's something that I have definitely done. Pain emerges, sensitivity rises up, re-injury cycles begin. Runner B progressively loads methodically, capacity builds, symptoms remain controlled. The difference is not discipline here, it's dosage. Runner A could be just as motivated, but increase too quickly and then comes back too quickly, might completely rest and then comes back, and it's constantly in that cycle. And it's the same versus a sedentary individual A or versus B. You know, for A for example, says, I want to lose weight, I need to go to the gym, hit it 5 days a week, bam. Every January we see that all the time, right? Introduce high training frequency and intensity versus individual B who says, oh well, you know what, I'm gonna go 2-3 days a week, have a reduced volume, slowly build up. Again, it has nothing to do with motivation, it's load management. So what we need to understand here, knee pain is often a capacity conversation and not a strength diagnosis. A knee is rarely just weak in isolation, and more often it is underprepared, it's underloaded or overloaded, it's sensitized, and the training is mismanaged. So strength training is just a tool here, but it's not the answer to everything. If you have any more questions, hit me up, comment below, or send me a message directly. Take care.